When the school opened, there was a senior graduating class. Okay, so their first senior year, last show of the year that they decided to do was Romeo and Juliet. Joe, who was a really awesome, like super fantastic actor, got the part of Romeo. Of course, he falls in love with the girl who plays Juliet, except for the girl who plays Juliet is secretly in love, or no, is dating the guy who plays Tybalt. If you know the story, you know that. Okay, but the guy who plays Tybalt is like totally violent, and he's beat the crap out of her like a bunch of times. So she and Joe start falling in love and making out like backstage and keeping their love a secret so that the guy who plays Tybalt doesn't find out, because if he finds out, he'll kill Joe and he'll kill her. So they're during one of the show nights or whatever, they've planned that they're, as soon as the show's over, because it's closing night and they're going to graduate in 3 days anyways, they're going to take off to Hollywood, become superstars. The guy that plays Tybalt sees them making out, like stealing a little kiss off the side of the stage, you know, whatever. And he goes and he changes the poison with rat poison. Joe goes out on stage. He's acting his beautiful, wonderful part. He drinks the rat poison. Of course, he dies on stage. Juliet wakes up, realizes Joe is actually really dead. She starts freaking out, screaming at the audience and blah, 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 save him, save him, save him. And they're just like, oh my God, she's such a good actress. Like, oh, wow, they're really, really good. Realizes he's dead. She takes up the actual knife and she stabs herself with it. So she dies on stage, and that's her blood that seeped through the floor. Joe's ghost haunts us because he was murdered on stage. She has moved on to the other world because she didn't die. She died, but she wasn't murdered. She chose her own life.
You know, it was built a long time ago. So that means it's been around for a long time. And when things are around for a long time, they become historically significant. So since it's been around a long time, it is now historically significant. The one of the reasons of the significance is it was built by the Works Project Administration program during the 30s. In fact, you might have seen that on the placard out there. WPA built it. Along with WPA built all the sidewalks and gutters on the street around here too during that time, and those are all stamped also. It was not, the shape it's in now wasn't its original shape. It was a flat floor, and it had windows and shades. In fact, until the most recent repainting, you could see where the windows were. You can still sort of see a little bit where the windows were on the sides of the buildings. And windows don't lend themselves real well to an auditorium where you have plays.
Yeah.
So those got taken out years ago. I have no idea when. As far as the significance, the Glendale Historical Society went around checking buildings that were built by the WPA, as well as other old historical buildings, and they sent a letter to us asking if we'd mind if they submitted it for the historical registry.
So what's the WPA?
Work Project Administration.
Oh, okay.
WPA was established during the Depression to put people to work.
Yeah.
But that was sort of the historical significance. Was it was built during a time when people were out of jobs during the Depression. It gave people work in the area. There were a lot of projects that the federal government paid for so people could work, and that happened to be one of them. When they built the auditorium, they tried to keep the Southwest Spanish influence in the architecture that was very similar to the original school, which is now known as Old Main, which is long gone, where the media center sits now. Anyway, they tried to keep the style of the auditorium so that it matched with that, since the buildings pretty much sat next to each other. Other than that, as far as any history of it, it got remodeled in I think it was early 60s. Got remodeled, and the windows closed, and then it was sloped. They came in and filled in back the whole thing so that you could have a sloped auditorium, so that there was better seating, so you could see what was actually going on the stage.
Yeah.
And then tried to get it included in the. Did you see the placard on the inside?
Yeah,
the inside door.
Yeah, I got the one on the inside. I got the one on the outside.
Originally, on the inside one, they were going to mention Joe the Ghost, because Joe the Ghost has been around there for years. Anybody who has ever worked in that auditorium or been in it for any amount of time has run into Joe the Ghost. In fact, Glendale 11 did a special report on Joe the Ghost. At the same time, they had a report about the historical designation of the building, and also at the same time, Joe the Ghost, because Joe still wanders around. I've run into Joe once in my 20 years here, and that was just hearing footsteps that disappeared, that could not have disappeared. When I went in there one night, I forget what I had to be in there for, but I was going across the stage, and somebody was running through the pit up the west staircase that only goes out the one door. You can't get anywhere else because the one door is locked. So I was going to try and catch who it was, and as soon as I opened the door off the stage into the hallway, footsteps ended, and that was it.
So you believe the Joe the Ghost story?
Joe's over there, and I don't know if you talked to Brunel.
I have.
But she's run into Joe, and anybody that's been in there for any length of time, like choir teachers, I don't know if Estes has run into Joe yet. Joe's never heard anybody. If there is a ghost, if there are ghosts, then yes, Joe is there.